You walk into a room and forget why you went there. Later, you replay an awkward conversation from 3 days ago, dissecting every word, every pause, every possible meaning. At night, your mind races through tomorrow's worries before you've even closed your eyes. This endless mental loop has a name. It's called overthinking, and it's more than just thinking too much. It's a pattern that millions of people struggle with every single day. The human brain is an extraordinary machine, constantly processing information, solving problems, and preparing for the future. But sometimes, this incredible ability turns against us. Instead of helping us move forward, our thoughts trap us in cycles that drain our energy and cloud our judgment. Understanding why this happens reveals something fascinating about how our minds work, and more importantly, how we can break free. At the heart of overthinking lies a specific brain network that scientists discovered accidentally. Researchers were studying brain activity during various tasks when they noticed something unexpected. When people weren't focused on any particular activity, certain brain regions lit up with surprising intensity. This collection of regions became known as the default mode network, and it fundamentally changed how we understand the thinking brain. The default mode network activates during rest, when someone is daydreaming, remembering the past, or imagining the future. It's the internal narrator that runs constantly in the background, creating stories about who we are and what our lives mean. This network includes areas in the prefrontal cortex, the posterior parts of the brain, and regions deep within the temporal lobes. Together, they form a system designed for introspection and self-reflection. In many ways, this network represents an evolutionary advantage. Our ancestors needed to reflect on past experiences to avoid repeating mistakes. They had to anticipate future threats to survive. The ability to think deeply about social relationships helped early humans navigate complex tribal dynamics. But what once protected our ancestors now fuels a different kind of struggle in the modern world. The default mode network doesn't know the difference between productive reflection and destructive rumination. When it becomes overactive, it keeps the mind stuck in repetitive thought patterns. People find themselves replaying embarrassing moments from years ago, or catastrophizing about events that may never happen. The brain treats these mental exercises as genuine threats, activating stress responses designed for physical danger. This brings us to two distinct forms of overthinking. Rumination focuses on the past, dwelling on mistakes, failures, and regrets. It asks questions like, why did this happen, and what could have been done differently? Worry, on the other hand, fixates on the future. It imagines worst-case scenarios and mentally rehearses disasters that haven't occurred. Both patterns share a common feature. They feel like problem-solving, but rarely lead to solutions. Research reveals that overthinking decreases significantly with age. Younger people are far more likely to get caught in these mental loops than older adults. Only about 20% of people over 60 report chronic overthinking, compared to much higher rates among those in their 20s and 30s. This suggests that either people develop better coping mechanisms over time, or life experience teaches them to let go of unproductive thought patterns. Several psychological factors make certain people more prone to overthinking. Fear of failure tops the list. When someone believes that making the wrong choice will lead to disaster, every decision becomes overwhelming. They analyze endlessly, seeking a perfect solution that doesn't exist. This connects directly to perfectionism, which isn't really about being perfect. It's about needing to feel perfect. People with perfectionist tendencies can't move forward until their choices feel exactly right, which rarely happens. Low self-esteem also plays a powerful role. People who doubt themselves constantly question their decisions and assume the worst about what others think of them. They replay conversations, searching for hidden meanings or signs of rejection. This hypervigilance stems from a deep insecurity about their own worth and judgment. Past trauma creates another pathway to overthinking. When someone experiences betrayal, humiliation, or significant loss, their brain stays on high alert to prevent similar pain. The mind obsessively reviews situations, looking for warning signs of danger. What started as a protective mechanism becomes a prison of repetitive thoughts. Major life transitions trigger overthinking, even in people who don't typically struggle with it. Starting a new job, moving to a different city, or going through a divorce forces people to reconstruct their sense of self. During these periods, the brain frantically tries to integrate new experiences with old identities. This process creates uncertainty, and uncertainty makes the mind work overtime. Stress amplifies all of these patterns. When people face stressful situations, they don't just overthink the stressor itself. The mental spiraling spreads to other areas of life. Financial stress might trigger worries about relationships, health, and career, creating a cascade of anxious thoughts that feel impossible to control. The biology of overthinking involves more than just brain networks. It creates measurable changes in the body's chemistry. When the mind runs in circles, it activates the stress response system. The hypothalamus signals the pituitary gland, which then tells the adrenal glands to release cortisol, the primary stress hormone. Cortisol serves important functions in short bursts. It helps mobilize energy, sharpen focus, and prepare the body to handle challenges. But chronic overthinking keeps cortisol levels elevated for extended periods. This prolonged exposure damages both mental and physical health. People experience fatigue, headaches, muscle tension, and sleep disturbances. Their immune systems weaken, making them more vulnerable to illness. High cortisol levels also impair cognitive function. Memory suffers, concentration becomes difficult, and decision-making feels overwhelming. The very act of overthinking creates biological conditions that make it harder to think clearly, trapping people in a vicious cycle. The connection between overthinking and mental health conditions is well established. Chronic rumination significantly increases the risk of developing depression and anxiety disorders. People who spend excessive time rehashing negative experiences develop more cynical outlooks and struggle to see positive possibilities. The repeated focus on distressing material keeps attention locked on everything that's wrong. Interestingly, overthinking also affects brain structure over time. Studies show that people prone to rumination have increased connectivity between certain brain regions, particularly involving areas that process emotions and self-reference. This strengthened connectivity makes it easier for the brain to fall into familiar patterns of worry and regret. Yet overthinking isn't entirely negative. The same brain networks that generate rumination also support creativity, insight, and complex problem-solving. The default mode network helps people understand others' perspectives, imagine future scenarios, and find innovative solutions. The key distinction lies in whether thoughts lead somewhere productive or simply spin in circles. Breaking free from overthinking requires interrupting the automatic patterns that keep the mind trapped. Awareness forms the first step. People need to recognize when they've shifted from productive thinking to unproductive rumination. This recognition creates a small gap, a moment of choice between continuing the spiral or redirecting attention elsewhere. Physical activity offers a powerful intervention. Exercise changes brain chemistry, releasing endorphins and other beneficial compounds. Even a short walk can shift mental state and break the cycle of repetitive thoughts. The movement forces attention outward, engaging the body and quieting the overactive mind. Mindfulness practices train the brain to observe thoughts without getting caught in them. Instead of fighting against worries or trying to force them away, mindfulness teaches people to notice thoughts arising and let them pass like clouds in the sky. This approach reduces the power thoughts have to hijack attention and emotional state. Cognitive approaches help people examine and challenge their thinking patterns. When someone notices they're catastrophizing, they can ask whether their worst-case scenario is actually likely. When perfectionist thoughts arise, they can remind themselves that mistakes offer valuable learning opportunities. This reframing gradually changes the automatic interpretations the brain makes. Setting boundaries around thinking time can also help. Instead of allowing worries to intrude throughout the day, people can designate a specific time for processing concerns. When anxious thoughts arise outside that window, they postpone them until the scheduled time. This technique contains the overthinking rather than letting it spread unchecked. The journey to quieter thoughts isn't about eliminating thinking altogether. It's about developing a different relationship with the mind's endless chatter. It's learning to distinguish between thoughts that serve us and those that drain us. The human brain will always generate an abundance of thoughts. That's what it does. But people don't have to believe every thought or follow every mental path their brain suggests. Understanding the psychology behind overthinking reveals that it's not a character flaw or a sign of weakness. It's a natural consequence of having a powerful brain designed for complex reasoning, combined with modern stressors that never fully shut off. The same cognitive abilities that let humans create art, solve problems, and connect deeply with others can also trap them in mental loops. Recognizing these patterns, understanding their origins, and learning practical strategies to interrupt them transforms the experience of overthinking. The goal isn't perfect peace or a completely quiet mind. It's building the skills to notice when thinking has become unproductive and having tools to redirect attention toward what actually matters. In that shift lies the freedom to think clearly, act decisively, and move forward with greater ease.